My name's Dave Littlejohn. I've been with Naya now for 34 years, I believe. My current role is sales rep for Queensland and Northern New South Wales. Big area to cover. Keeps me on the road a lot. Really enjoy it. I see the countryside in all its different manner. One afternoon I was working at James Hardy's at the time on shift work, and I knew the family. I used to help them with odd jobs.
This is the Naya family?
The Naya family, yes. They asked me if I wanted a job. And I said, sure, what do you need doing? They said, no, we want to offer you a job. And I thought long and hard, and I thought, this is a long-term career for me. That was back in 1988. And I had hair back then too. So I was the storeman and packer for a long time. Sort of made myself a jack of all trades and graduated through, helped out where I needed to. And I helped the family move originally from Annie Street to the Sandgate Road facility. And I tell staff, stock, office furniture, everything fitted in a 20-foot container. Look forward another couple of moves and yeah, it's phenomenal, the growth. I'm into archery, bow hunting. That's been my passion for probably 10, 15 years now. And was talking to people, organised an outfitter, got a couple of mates, and we were going on an elk hunt to Montana. So Rob surprised me. There was a bit of shenanigans going on in the background, and there was a plaque presented to me with 30-year service plaque with a all expenses paid hunt to Montana. So it just, yeah, very humbling, definitely. Never been to Montana in my life. We flew straight into 5,000 feet above sea level. It's breathlessness. So we spent a few days getting used to the elevation there, and we knew we were going to hunt a bit higher. So it doesn't prepare you, but you get a bit used to it. Yeah. We spent a few days and then got picked up by our guide and driven out to the lodge where we were staying. But yeah, we did a few days before the hunt, visiting all the sports stores, which are, everywhere you go, there's big, huge sports stores. They all sell bear spray and all the stuff we never see here in Australia. Yeah, so I had an elk tag, which included a white-tailed deer, but I also applied for a pronghorn antelope tag. The weather for me is cold. The mornings, there's frost on the ground, and it's only getting colder apparently as the days go on. I had a run-in with some elk. They stampeded off the mountain. The satellite bull had stolen some cow elk off the big bull and ran them down to the mountain towards us, and we got caught in no man's land, and some of the cows bedded 20 yards from me, and the bull elk was probably 50, 60 yards, and he was bugling, and it's an experience. A sound goes right through your body, makes your organs quiver. It's very unique for a big animal, such a huge animal. A big bull elk is bigger than a horse. Yeah, it's like a Clydesdale size animal at the shoulder. It's a big animal, and they're just very majestic. Caught in no man's, half in a crouch. About 2 minutes I was starting to cramp because I was half crouching, half standing, and I thought I had to try something, and I started lowering down, and the cow elk that was 20 yards saw some movement and she took off. And the bull elk had no idea why he was running, but he ran away with them, and I put that down to a rookie error, and yeah, the wind was swirling around a lot, so we backed out so to not spook them off the hill. So we backed out and went and laid in the sun, watching them through binoculars on another ridge for a while, and then backed out and went back. That was pretty much the hunting for the day because the wind was all wrong. The next morning, there was a lot of ice on the ground, which apparently makes the elk more active, the cold weather. So we were a bit excited, and we got up into our little glassing ridge amongst some trees, and I'd sorted with Loophole a new set of BX5 Santiums, and they were just magnificent. So, because we spend a lot of time glassing these animals from one ridge to another, and it's sometimes 1-2 Ks across. So you're trying to see animals through the timber, and even the guides, they get special deals on another brand of high-end binocular, and we were comparing the two side by side, and they couldn't really pick the difference, which, the set I had were probably half the price of their set. And I use a Loophole rangefinder. I've got the original RX1000 that was the first one came into the country. But it's been Dave-proof for, it'd be 10 years now, which is amazing for a battery-operated rangefinder, but I use it every weekend, which has probably increased the longevity. We could see lower down there was a big bull elk raking some trees and just ripping them apart, shredding them. The guide said, "What's the plan?" And I said, "Let's go over there and kill that elk." About an hour later, to get from one ridge to the next, we got up to where he was, and I was stalking slowly and popped over, and there was a cow elk there, and I got busted. She didn't quite know what was going on and wandered off, and they all wandered up the hill. So the guide said, "Dave, we'll just stay here for 5 minutes and see what happens." And just settling down, I was on my knees, very steep slope, and he gave me the quiet, "Psst, Dave, left." And I sort of darted my eyes left, and there was an elk moving through the pines very silently, obviously following, like a satellite bull, following these other ones up. He sort of was looking at us. He didn't quite know because we were rock solid still and the wind was great. He was going to move through a gap in the pine trees, about a metre gap. And as he put his head behind a tree, I drew my bow and he stepped out into the clearing, and the guide gave a cow elk noise, which is a mewing noise, and pulled him up perfectly in this metre gap. I had my 40-yard pin on the elk's shoulder and just released the arrow, watched the arrow just blast right through him up the mountainside, and the guide said, "Get another arrow." And I said to him, I remember saying, "No need, that thing is dead." I did the wander over and I laid my hands on my first ever elk. It was very exciting, just all come together, because we knew that it wasn't a sure thing, this whole elk hunting thing. It's just, bow hunting can be like that. But yeah, I want to take the animal ethically and quickly as possible. 40 yards I was very comfortable with. Yeah, very happy. The guide was very happy as well, and yeah, there was maybe a few man hugs and stuff like that went on, so yeah, I was quite elated. They have laws that forbids the hunter to waste meat, and anti-waste laws. So you take an animal, you have to take the meat, and you take it with you to a processor, or you process it yourself, but you cannot leave the meat in the field. You can leave the skin, but you can't leave the meat. So you can leave a bone pile and a gut pile, that's it. We gutted my animal on the hill. It was steep enough that we could let the intestines and everything make it easier to get out. And we were lucky enough we could get a side-by-side buggy close enough we could drag it off the hill and get it to flatter ground to load it up. But once it was processed, we got 174 kilos of meat off that animal. So, and he wasn't considered a big one. Some of them, up sort of 250 kilos just of meat.
That's a lot of burgers.
It's a lot of burgers, backstraps, steaks and everything like that, yeah. That meat I donated to the guide. But they also have a thing over there, if hunters can't take the meat with them, they can donate it to food bank. So they process it and give it to families that can't afford to buy meat. Elk meat is outstanding. It was incredible. Yeah, we had elk meat one night off another bull that my mate shot. And you'd expect an animal in the rut with the hormones, it wouldn't be real nice, but it was outstanding. Yeah, it was beautiful meat. The next morning I got to sleep in where the other boys were heading out before sunrise. Very cold morning. That afternoon there was a plan of attack at lunchtime that they'd, because I had an antelope tag as well, we'd go down the road to a big, they call it alfalfa or lucerne field, big centre pivots, huge big fields, and I would try and take a pronghorn antelope. So there was antelope on the field, and we put a decoy of an animal up to maybe lure another one in to see what was going on. But it was a cold day, it was sleeting, it was raining, and probably an hour of light to go, an antelope came within range. He walked about 100 yards from me towards the big dominant antelope, and the big dominant guy chased him back towards me. And then he saw the decoy and thought it was another antelope, and he came within bow range, and yeah, I ticked another tag on the list. So got to do a bit of driving back to the farm with an antelope in the back, and yeah, I had it all skinned out and everything by the time the guides had come back. So I was even offered a job for skinning and caping. So But yeah, there was another one ticked off. So that was, yeah, tick, tick. The snow started coming in and it started just light snow and probably overnight we had 4 inches of snow, 5 inches of snow, which made it, I loved it. I had the right gear for being in the snow, I had the right thermals, everything like that. We went for a ride out with the owner of the outfit and we were looking for where the elk were, where they might be sitting or holding up to, scout out for these other guys. We came into a valley and there was a dead elk in a bit of a gully creek and we sort of looked at it and it had its side torn out and it was bleeding and it was that fresh that the snow was melting on the carcass, so it was very fresh. We looked about and there was all these tracks and I said, what are they? And he said, mountain lion tracks. And yeah, my hairs on my neck are going up again. And we're talking and you could see where the mountain lion, 2 mountain lions had taken this elk down, killed it, dragged it into the gully, and then he started looking up in the trees. He said, they're here watching us. And I said to him very clearly, let's not be here, because I had a bow in my hand, that was it. So that was, brings it home pretty quickly about predators that they have over there that can, because we don't have things that actively hunt you here, but those things can, yeah, and they're a pretty big animal, like a 6-foot long cat. Yeah, that's very stealthy. And guys that have been there 20, 30 years have seen evidence of cats, of those mountain lions, never seen one. So that's how elusive they can be, yeah. Definitely a bucket list trip. Like I said, it was very humbling. I did it with a couple of mates as well, which was a great experience. We, instead of doing it all by myself, so we had those guys. We had some good times in Bozeman and yeah, it was a great experience. The culture in the US, the hunting culture is incredible. We had policemen congratulating us on we'd taken an elk and even going back through the airport with antlers strapped to my bag. People were wanting to talk about the hunt and stuff like that. It was magnificent, just the culture, the hunting culture. Anyone that rifle hunts, bow hunts, or just hunting, just get out and tell people that you're a hunter. Educate people on what we do, especially here in Australia, because we're hunting, we're taking feral animals out of the ecosystem. We're helping the system. We want to educate people on that.